the time has finally come to unhaul some books. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm just going to move back a little bit. Today we have got a huge unhaul to do. So there's I will have put it in the video description, but there's over 70 books here that I need to move on from my collection. So I wanted to sit and film this video for you. So usual disclaimers. If you gifted me any of these books, thank you so very much. It's not a comment on you at all that I'm not keeping it. I have thoroughly appreciated receiving it. The vast majority of these I've loved. A lot of them I gave 4 or 5 stars, but I can't keep them all. We are also moving and downsizing shortly. Hopefully, at the time of filming this, we haven't actually gone off on a house, but we're in progress, and we will be downsizing. So I've needed to do a thorough cull of my books, as you can see. So yes, please, if you see a book here that you've sent to me, please don't be offended. Like I said, I very much appreciated receiving it and reading it. I just can't keep them all. So I'm going to go through these books. Like I said, I've got massive stacks here. Like some of them are tilting slightly alarmingly. That's why I'm a bit like, ugh. And yeah, we're going to talk it through. I've also got both girl cats. Oh, here comes Sav to illustrate my point. In the room, prowling around. It's fairly early in the morning. Sav is now climbing inside a plastic bag. She's safe, don't worry. It's quite early in the morning as I'm filming, so they've just had breakfast and are therefore full of beans. Savannah, she's literally climbing inside a plastic bag. Sorry for the rustling. She's completely ridiculous. Yes, so I'm going to unhaul these books and then I need to get them out of my house. So when I unhaul books, they go to one of a few places. First of all, I offer them to bookish friends and family to see if they would like them. Secondly, any proofs that don't go to bookish friends and family go straight into the staff room at my school, because obviously they can't be sold and I know the staff will get enjoyment out of them. There's a certain stack of books that will go straight into my personal classroom library at school, and then some others that will go into kind of general circulation in the main school library, and then any others that don't go from any of that I will put into the local charity shop. So that's where they all go, just before we start getting into this. Okay, so let's start with, I've got them kind of split into genre. Bear with me a second, I think I need to move. Oh no, I was going to say I need to move these plastic bags. Now she's come away. Yeah, I've got them split into genre. So let's make a start with, now she's trying to push them over. It's going to be a crash in a minute. Stop being a pest. Let's start with young adult and middle grade, because these are the ones that will go straight into my school library, either my own classroom or the main library. I'm not going to talk about each book in detail because, like I said, there's over 70 here. We'll be here for weeks, but I will just show you what's leaving my collection in case it's interesting. Okay, so first up we have Once Upon a Fever by Angrahard Walker. This was a dystopian story about medicine. It was kind of a plague story. I did just say I wasn't going to do loads of detail on each. Anyway, this one is going out. We have got historical fiction, which is My Name is Victoria by Lucy Worsley. We have got a kind of horror thriller one. This is The Changing Man by Tomi Makindi. I think I've said that correctly. It's just there. This was a proof copy that Charlotte sent me. We have got Robin Hood by Henry Gilbert. We have got The Do's and Donuts of Love by Abadir Jagradar. I really enjoyed this one last year. Such a cute cover as well. We have got Pet by Kweki Emezi, another one that I loved and I know that my kids will get lots out of. And we've got yet another copy of One by Sarah Crossan. I think I've put 3 or 4 copies of One into the school library at this point, and my own personal classroom library. The kids love this book. We cannot keep hold of it long enough. Like, there's a literal waiting list for this book. So yeah, I'm excited to put this one into circulation. We then have Loveless by Alice Oseman. Alice Oseman is a author that so many of my kids love and adore, so I know that they will be really happy to see this one. Then we got the first 2 books in this series, which I actually don't know what it's called, but the first book is this one. Yeah, so this is All Our Hidden Books by Caroline O'Donoghue, and then The Gifts That Bind Us, also obviously by Caroline O'Donoghue. I really enjoyed the first one. Second one I was getting slightly bored. I know I'm not the audience, so I haven't carried on, but I do love, look how pretty these editions are. And again, I know plenty of students who will really enjoy those. Then we have Full Disclosure by Cameron Garrett. I love this, but I'm just not going to go back to it. That's kind of the theme for most of these books. I love them. I'm just not going to read them again, so they might as well go onto somebody else's shelves. And Hollyborn only happens in the movies, and obviously Hollyborn again, Am I Normal Yet? And I've put a couple of full copies of this trilogy, because this is from the Spinsters trilogy, already into the school library. This was the last one that's left on my shelves, and I loved this book. I really, really loved it, but I'm not going to read it again, and I know that I've got kids that will get lots out of it, and it's the same with It Only Happens in the Movies. So yeah, those are going out. And then the final one is this beautiful, I mean, it does hurt me slightly to give this away, but I'm not going to read it again, gorgeous copy of Girl, Goddess, Queen by Bea Fitzgerald, which I picked up at random last summer. Look how pretty, like, it's so pretty, and the end pages, etc, etc. So yeah, I really enjoyed this story, and I just know that there will be others that will as well. Okay, next stack, I'm not really doing this in any massive order, I'm just grabbing stacks as they come to hand. My next stack is romance, and I was surprised actually at how many romance stories I have on my shelves, as someone who's not a major romance reader, but these ones I've enjoyed and I'm ready to pass on. So the first one was Bell Time by Sophie Tuvey. I'm going to put this, I think, in the staff room, because I think there will be a lot of members of staff who would get a kick out of this. Sav's now trying to shove over the stack to my left. We have got Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. Make You Mine This Christmas by Lizzie Huxley Jones. I really enjoyed this. This was the Christmas romance that Charlotte picked for my December TBR last year, and it was definitely the most successful one. I really, really enjoyed this, but yeah, not going to read it again. Then we've got The Housemate by Rosie Dannon. I gave this 5 stars. I loved this. Then picked up the sequel and DNF'd it. And I'm just not going to go back to this one. But yeah, The Roommate by Rosie Dannon is going out. Then we have the entire Kiss Quotient trilogy by Helen Huang. I really, really enjoyed this series. Was it this one? Yeah, The Heart Principle actually made my favourite books of the year list, which I'll link in the description. But I'm just not going to read them again, and hopefully somebody else will pick them up and enjoy them. Okay, so that's the literary fiction stack. That's the biggest one. Let's not tip that over. She's determined to make chaos today. Okay, speaking of literary fiction, well, this is kind of a mixture of like literary fiction and contemporary, I guess. So let's whip through these. So I have Mr. Loverman by Bernardine Evaristo. Stay Another Day by Juno Dawson. I really thoroughly enjoyed this, but again, I'm not going to read it. It's not going to be like a reread book for me. I've got Galatea by Madeline Miller. This is such a tiny little novella. This was expensive. I did buy it with a voucher, but again, I'm not going to read it a second time. I'm glad I've read it though, because I was really intrigued. Then I also have Other Women by Emma Flint. This was arguably in my top sort of 3 books of last year, but I bought myself a beautiful hardback copy when it came out. This was the ARC that Book Break very kindly sent me, so I would highly recommend this one for sure. We've got Starvaker by Andrew Michael Hurley, which is one of those books that I read, and I was like, I got to the end, I was like, well, I've read this whole thing and I'm still not sure what it's about. But yeah, that one is going out. Sav's now up on top of the bookshelves. You may well see her appear in a second. I also have Sundial by Katrina Ward. Also love this. Very dark, very weird. Lots and lots of trigger warnings. We have The List by Yemi Adegoke. I actually saw Olivia Savannah from Olivia's Catastrophe give this a really interesting review and really nuanced review. I feel like Olivia Savannah often verbalizes what I'm thinking. Was it Olivia Savannah? No, she's put this on her TBR. Sorry, I take that back. It was Leanne from Leanne Rose. Gave this a really interesting review. And much like Olivia Savannah, Leanne often kind of puts into words what I've been thinking, but I couldn't articulate by myself. So I will link that video in the description. I'll also link Olivia Savannah's TBR, because I'm really intrigued to see what she's going to make of this. Sav is now behind the TV. She's absolutely focused on disrupting my filming today. I do apologise. Yeah, so that one is going out. I'm going to put that slightly different stack, because I'm trying to stack them a little bit better than I did first thing. I've also got Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. Again, a very weird little book that I really enjoyed and would recommend. Then I've got I Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman, which again is a weird sort of dystopian-esque sci-fi kind of story. Very unsettling, very short, and I really enjoyed it. Then we've got Affinity by Sarah Waters. If you saw my January wrap-up, we're done with Sarah Waters. I did finish this one. There'll be another one of hers coming in a future unhaul, because my mother-in-law is currently reading it. But yeah, this Sarah Waters just doesn't work for me. The only one I've loved of hers is Tipping the Velvet, which you can see just there, which I will definitely reread at some point. Then I dipped my toes. I'm just trying to keep an eye on the cat who is now perched precariously. Oh, there go the Valentine's cards on top of our bookshelf. Then I dipped my toe. Here she comes, the chaos demon. I dipped my toes into sci-fi and I read The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I quite liked it. I didn't love it as much as everybody else, and I think we just need to accept that stuff that is set in space is not for me. But yeah, that one is going out. Where's the next bit of this stack? It's a big stack, this section. We then have The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. We have Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. She's just sat here now. That's not at all unnerving. She's like some sort of overlord. Silence of the Girls by Pat Barker. Queenie by Candice Carty-Williams. I do love this pink edition and it does look very pretty. I just don't have space for all these books on my shelf, unfortunately. I've also got His Bloody Project by Graham McRae Burnett. I've read this a couple of times. My brother gave this to me for Christmas a few years ago and I've read it a couple of times, though he didn't write into it. And it's kind of a different, it's sort of somewhere between a historical fiction and a kind of true crime murder mystery. I would recommend it. I would also recommend the audiobook because I really enjoyed reading it that way. I've also got The Lamplighter by Jackie Kay. 19 Claws and a Blackbird by Augustina Bazterrica. As you guys will know if you've been watching my content for any length of time really, Tender as the Flesh is one of my favourite books of all time. So when I saw this short story collection had been translated, because Bazterrica is an Argentinian author, so when I saw that this had been translated, I pre-ordered it and was very excited about it. And I read it and I think I gave it like a 3.5. And I had it on my shelf for a while with Tender as the Flesh, but I've just come to realise that I'm not going to reread it and it doesn't need to take up space on my bookshelf. So that one is going out. I'm a little bit sad about that one. And then we're into a few hardbacks. So I have All's Well by Mona Awad. I loved this. This was so weird. But again, I'm not going to read it again. And if I want to, I can get it on Everand or at my library. So that one's coming out. Then we have The Marriage Portrait by Maggie O'Farrell. It's a beautiful edition. It's a massive book. I loved it. I'm just not going to pick it up again. I loved Hamnet, which I've reread by her a couple of times, but I just know that this one for me isn't going to be a reread, so it needs to go out into somebody else's shelves. And then two others that might surprise you. I have got Magic Lessons and The Book of Magic by Alice Hoffman. I've read this whole series. I've loved some more than others. These two are beautiful hardbacks, but they are quite big, and I didn't love them enough that I'm going to go back to them. So that was kind of, like I said, like literary fiction with a little bit of contemporary mixed in. What should we do next? Let's do non-fiction, which is a slightly smaller stack. We're sort of a good halfway through. I think we're going okay, 12 minutes so far. Okay, so next up we have Pandora's Jar, which is by Natalie Haynes, another beautiful cover. I need to make some more space over this side so I can stack books as I go. I've got The Five by Hallie Rubenhold. So this one's got a slightly funny story behind it. If you can see, it's slightly warped there. I bought this one and might as well show you this one as well. This one, which is Ready to Teach Macbeth by Stuart Pryke and Amy Stanforth. For a colleague who was leaving, we had a lovely PGC student and she was going on to her next placement and I was put in charge of her leaving gift. So I was like, great. So we got her the Ready to Teach Macbeth because that's what she'll be teaching next. And we were in the middle of teaching a crime unit to year 8. So I was like, which includes some kind of, we don't get into detail obviously, but we do look at the Jack the Ripper case. So I thought, great, she's not read this because I checked with her. So I got her this. And then they were on the side of the kitchen ready to be wrapped. And like I said, you can see it is worse here. And my husband, my darling husband, decided to drop an entire pint of Ribena all over the kitchen and all over these. So obviously I couldn't gift these to her. I mean, this one's not too bad. So I very quickly did a repurchase, put these in the airing cupboard to dry out, and now they're being unhauled because I can't obviously return them in this condition. I have already read, have I already got a copy of The Five? I feel like I already have one. Yeah, there's my copy there, which doesn't have Ribena on it. And I've also already got a copy of this. So those two are both going out. This will probably go into the staff room unless somebody else claims it. So there's those two. Also going out is Jane Austen at Christmas by Maria Hubert. This is such a pretty little edition. I really enjoyed this last Christmas, but again, I am not going to go back to it. I also have Heroes going out by Stephen Fry. I read this because I do a Myths and Legends unit with year 7 in term 2, and a lot of them are very, very keen for me to read this, so I did, but again, not going to read it again. I also have another loosely Lucy Worsley, Jane Austen at Home. I have Cleopatra, Last Queen of Egypt by Joyce Tilsley. I really wanted to enjoy this, but it turned out to be very, very dry. So if you can recommend any other books on Cleopatra, because I am fascinated by her, please do. Then we've got What White People Can Do Next by Emma Dabiri and White Rage by Carol Anderson. I will obviously take out all of my tabs on this one. Both of these I've read a couple of times and appreciated and learnt from, but I feel like they could be doing more good on somebody else's shelves rather than on mine. And the last one, 'Twas the Night Shift Before Christmas by Adam Kay. This is the cute like sprayed edges edition. Entertained me a couple of times, but I'm not going to go back to it. So let's have that out into the world. Okay, we've got 2 more stacks left. Let's do historical first of all. Let's lift this into position. I'm just going to have a quick drink. I did get my big hug mug out because I knew this was going to be a lot of talking this morning. I love this mug. It's from Tesco and it's one of my favourites. So we're doing pretty good. We're about 15 or so minutes in. And like I said, we've got 2 stacks left. So historical fiction. So many of these are so pretty. I feel like historical fiction books quite often get the prettiest covers. Okay, let's start. So we have Over London by George Penney and Tony Johnson. This was sent to me directly by the authors, so thank you to them for sending that to me. I have The Lollipop Shoes, which is the second book in the Chocolat series by Joanne Harris. Such a chunker. I've got book 3 up on my TBR ready to read, which is also huge, and it starts off just fine because Chocolat's here. That's you know, a decent length, a good length. This was a monster. However, what I would say is there's something hypnotic about Harris's writing because I read this really, really quickly. Anyway, that's going out. We also have Cunning Women by Elizabeth Lee. I mean, look how pretty that is. This is what I mean. Historical fiction gets such beautiful editions. We've got The Maiden by Kate Foster. This was, as you can see, an arc that Book Break sent me, but even the arc is very, very pretty. We have got arguably one of my favourite books of last year, The Skeleton Key by Erin Kelly. That is going out as well. And it's funny because there's quite a few of my favourite books from last year in this stack. Just because it's a favourite doesn't mean it's a book I'm going to reread. And I know myself, I don't think I'm going to reread this. I'm also going to send this to my brother because I feel like he would really love this book, given the subject matter. But yeah, I will leave, if I haven't already, I will put my top books of the year in the description so you can see more about it there. Again, another gorgeous edition. I've also got Killingly by Catherine Butner, which is going to be going out. Again, another beautiful cover. And this is sort of historical fiction, fantasy fiction, crossover, that kind of crossover. But Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. I did enjoy this at the time and I actually pre-ordered the second one. Then I thought about it a bit more and I cancelled that pre-order because I wasn't as captured by this as I wanted to be. I will read the second one at some point, but I will wait until like I find it in a charity shop or it comes out in paperback and is not quite as expensive. Okay, final stack. Probably the biggest stack. I mean, it's going to be a tie between literary fiction and this. And that tells you quite a lot about my reading, I think, because these are thriller books or like thriller, mystery, dark books. Okay, let's pull this over without knocking it over. Okay, let's go through this. So the first one is The Honeymoon by Kate Gray. This was a huge, very floppy arc, which I actually got from Charlotte. So unless somebody else bookish claims it, it will probably go into the staff room. Just making space over this side. We have got Perfect Crime by Helen Fields. I'm not quite sure where this has come from because I didn't realise I had any of these left. It must have come back from my mother-in-law at some point. This is book something in the Luke Kalanick series, which is one that I really, really enjoy. We've got Silent House by Nell Patterson. We've got The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. Like, this could have been in the young adult section, arguably, but anyway, I love this cover. We've got How to Kill Men and Get Away with It by Katie Brent. We have got One Road In by Hannah R. Palmer. This is an indie published book. Would definitely recommend it. Very, very creepy, kind of thriller horror book, I would say. All of Us Are Broken by Fiona Cummins. Again, another arc that I was sent. We've also got Verge by Nadia Attia, which I got from a bookshop in Bristol Bookhouse. I'll find the vlog where I bought it and put it below. But this came out of their weird section, and yes, it was very, very weird. Again, another cover that I really like. I've got The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. This has been all over, mostly Book Talk, I think. I wasn't that impressed, I have to be honest, but it was one that I read and is going out. We've got A Spoonful of Murder by J.M. Hall. I do love this cover with the cat on it. We have got Keep It in the Family by John Mars. It's a very heavy bind up, this one. But yeah, that was a weird one from him, not a surprise. We've got The Turnout by Megan Abbott, which I really wanted to enjoy more than I did, but I did love the ballet school setting. We've got Lying in Wait by Liz Nugent. Wasn't one of her best ones, but I still read it. Another arc, which was Blackthorn by Sarah Hillary. And we've got 2 left. One for Sorrow by Helen Fields. This is the last in the Luke Cadillac series, and I sobbed my heart out at the end of this book, but I don't need copies on my shelves. I'm currently doing an audiobook reread, and yeah, I loved it, but I'm not going to read it again. And then the final one in this stack and this unhaul is Death of a Bookseller by Alice Slater, which I really enjoyed, thought it was really clever, but again, I'm not going to reread it. So that is 70 something books that are leaving my collection, and I now need to go through all of them and take out gift notes, tabs, etc. and get them ready to go out into the world. I hope you found this interesting. I really like watching unhauls, and I was trying to do it quarterly last year, but for some reason I always procrastinate over filming them. I don't know why. But yeah, these can now all go out of my house and into other people's houses and hands, and hopefully they will enjoy them. Tell me, how do you deal with your book collection? Do you unhaul books? Do you keep every single book you read? Do you unhaul every single book you read? I know some people do that, don't keep any. How do you decide what you're going to unhaul? For me, it's very much on a feeling. If I feel like I'm going to reread a book, I will keep it. If I rate it below a 4, it's kind of an automatic unhaul, unless it's part of a series that I want to keep. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. If you got to this point in the video, I'm just looking for some, oh, I know. If you got to this point in the video, leave me a snail emoji. And if you've read this book, you will know why I picked that. But yeah, leave me a snail emoji just to let me know you got to the end of the video. Please subscribe if you would like more of this chaos, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks everyone. Bye.